and Magical. Talk a little bit about Insanity there after a big step up from not only him, but the entire squad here, Joshi.
Yeah, I do have to say that Dignitas looked a lot better than what I expected to see from them coming in. But also, I do want to give a bit of a shout out to our AoE players because they bounced back really well from Game 1 to Game 2. And in particular, I feel as though Winston had a really big glow up between the first game and the second game. He understood a lot better what he needed to do in order to set up his team for success. Unfortunately, the rest of AoE, as you already called out, were just not able to translate it into macro advantages across the board. And it was what allowed Dignitas to come back.
Yeah, it's obvious to see like the big thing that stood out in the mid game when a lot of the catch-outs were happening. But again, I like that you pointed out, and especially seeing, there is that difference, that expectation we set at the beginning of the day, and you still have to look with some pride to the squad for being able to be in the first round of the first place, upper bracket, and especially now getting a chance to make a run potentially.
Also, big props over to Young. I think that second game was also a great glow from him. Wendy did give him a lot to work with, but unfortunately, it was a LeBlanc into a Jinx Tom catch. And maybe early into the game, you're able to completely annihilate that Jinx, but once Tom catch got devoured, no shot.
No shot indeed. But that was it for our first best of 3 of the day. I can't believe it's already said and done with. We got to go ahead and get into our second best of 3 of the day because competition keeps on rolling. And this one is going to be a fun one. We've got Team Liquid Honda Academy versus Team Pending TBA. And
Lennon, what do you define as fun?
What I define as fun? Watching Team Liquid Honda Academy play the video game.
Okay, I just wanted to get that clear because
that is always going to be fun.
I feel so bad for Team Pending. They are getting thrown into the lion's den. It's just like, hey, you just played in Proving Grounds CQ? Here's the team that won last Proving Grounds. Good luck!
So I got to have a little bit later on. I was talking to some of the players during this and was talking to Robbie Bob specifically for Team Pending, and he realizes the situation they're in, right? Like, but the thing is they're here to put on a show, and that's exactly what he said to me. And I think that's a good mindset to have in this situation to try to take down, what a lot of people are crowning the already kings of Proving Grounds here in summer, Joshi.
Yeah. As we see the roster that we see on our screen, this is a lot different than the one that they were actually playing with during a lot of the Proving Ground Circuit qualifiers. They were playing with Topo, previously Topopotamus, and Chookies. And so replacing them with Porsche and Kim Down does, some interesting things to their roster, right? Porsche was part of the roster with the University of St. Thomas that Kitso and Robbie Bob were able to win SEAL 2022. But Kim Down comes through from the UC Irvine program as one of their younger players that is trying to make a name for himself and has had middling success throughout his brief amateur career thus far.
This is why it makes it really interesting pairing up with Masu, another young player, to see how well and how fast they can mesh.
Yeah, we got to look at Masu if you want to just keep talking about him, because we got to put a little spotlight on this ADC.
So this is a player that actually me and Josh didn't know too much about going into this. He's a fairly new player, and in fact, I was always wondering where's Shogo, because Shogo was this fantastic ADC that played for the University of St. Thomas with Robbie Bob, Kitsuo, Porsche. And so seeing that they had someone new, but still an absolute smashing player. This guy, if you look at how he's been playing throughout Proving Grounds CQs, this guy has been playing on the edge, where he's like willing to be right in the midst of fights. He doesn't care, and his kite back, his positioning, how he plays, and the confidence he puts into the rest of his team allows him to play incredibly aggressive, and he's got the hands. He's got the hands. Even if he cancels a couple auto attacks here, he still makes the play work.
Yeah, his positioning has been fantastic during a lot of these team fights, and it does give us a lot of hope for how he can potentially move around a lot of these fights in ways that is kind of rivaled by Jan, right? He wants to be able to go in and out and weave his way through.
I just look at this squad for TBA and just... You were already saying hands diffs or potential hands diffs. I hope that the mechanics really get to show out for this team, because you look at the likes of Kitsuo, you look at the likes of Robbie Bob, and man, we've seen some very high highs for both these guys, and I really, really want to see something come through here for them, Joshi.
Yeah, and for context, because you kind of got ahead of ourselves, Lennon, this was the only thing. I was trying to learn a little bit more about Masu before we actually came to this. This is the only thing he has ever tweeted. Ever.
Yep.
He doesn't have any tweets
I
of his
can't
own.
believe it.
He's responding right here to Chookies. He's been like, yeah, my AD carry is super cracked. I am so proud to play with him. And this is it. He's got a snail. From One Piece is what I'm told, but I haven't seen the
From
anime.
One
So.
Piece, I've never seen it either. But hey, at least there's content there. The only thing, but at least there's a thing,
There you go.
Yoshi, okay?
He's got the personality coming out, you know?
Content.
Is that the personality?
Snail phone.
It's look, I'm just saying if I were going to be responding to that, it definitely wouldn't have been with snail phone.
Yeah, probably not. Also, like a sad-looking snail phone. Makes me.
Well,
feel
would you
bad
be
a little
happy
bit.
if your snail turned into a phone? I didn't think
mean,
so.
Maybe. It depends if you like your job or not. But let's talk about this roster a little bit more, because I was saying earlier, I think it's such an interesting situation when you're looking at the possible high highs of TBA, but we already know the high highs of Team Liquid Honda Academy, and this squad already. Premier favorites here in Proving Grounds, I feel like, but also just the consistency we've seen from them over this last year, Joshi.
Yeah, they're my favorite team, and I'm going to relay one of the bold predictions our production team gave real quick, which I don't think is too far away. Team Liquid has been going on about how they try and get into our 2-game series during Academy in 2 games under an hour of game time. They were going to win that fast. And we already touched on this before. They set the Academy record at 18.5 minutes going up against Immortals. This might be faster. Let's be real. As much as I love the team pending, this is our #1 squad, a team that I've been on record as saying I believe would be a mid-tier LCS team if you put them there right now, going up against the 16th squad coming in, the 6th seed coming in
Josh,
from amateur.
I'm gonna throw a
We shouldn't
curveball.
expect this
I'm
to
gonna
be
throw a real
close.
quick curveball before I give it to myself.
Okay, I'm ready.
What if, you said this before,
What if?
They just decide to pick whatever they want in the first game and really throw off Team Liquid?
No way.
Like, just absolutely chaos all across the board.
Chaos.
I would have a
That's
lot of fun. You would have a lot of
Yeah.
fun.
I would be having fun too watching the games. But I think Team Liquid Academy, obviously, we've already lauded them a lot, but we got to talk about the nitty gritty with them, and especially somebody who has a lot of confidence in himself. We got to talk to him a lot. Jan, the bottom laner for Team Liquid Honda Academy. This guy is on one this split, but as well as just been that steady growth that we're now seeing capitalized on by the likes of Team Liquid.
And it's also worth noting that fun fact he has listed there is actually a real fun fact. It's not like a joking fun fact, haha, he goes and likes a bunch of down bad things on Twitter. No, he actually goes out and finds a lot of really cool art that he likes. So if you are interested in finding cool concept art or art from games and movies and whatnot, he's actually got a lot of cool art to go check out.
Yeah, but speaking of him as a player, the reason why I kind of feel like focusing on Masu before him, a player that is newer to the scene, was appropriate because Jan, you have to keep in mind, he's only really been playing competitively since 2020. It's really short. It's not like he's got this pop-off performance, that's lasted several years. This guy has been absolutely tearing it up just in 2 years alone. Starting with 100 next, then here on Team Liquid Academy, picking up a win in, I think even a semifinals last year with them.
Yeah.
Not semifinals, grand finals. They got second place. This is a team and this is a player who is absolutely dominating and making a good showcase for himself, where everyone focuses on Ayla, but maybe the conversation should be more on Jan.
Jan's definitely a player that has had a huge glow up from spring into summer, right? He was definitely a member that we didn't have any complaints about when he was on Team Liquid in spring, but the amount of aggression he's been displaying in summer has really allowed him to level up. He's been willing to go forward, and a lot of teams aren't necessarily calling him on his bluff just quite yet. It's a position where he's allowed to look even better because he's willing to make these plays, and everyone's like, oh god, is that Team Liquid doing that to us? They're probably right, let me back up. And so now Team Liquid is in a position where they really have to kind of showcase that they are not just the best team, but that they can also be the cleanest team, right? It's always hard to ask for a perfect game, but we just saw one in our previous series. Maybe Team Liquid can recreate it.
Yeah, I think for me also, when you're talking to both Jan and Ayla, you just see like the doe eyes that are surrounded the statements they say about each other. They're so... You didn't know where I was going with that one, did you?
I wasn't sure. I was a little afraid.
You gotta wait. See, you know what they say about assuming. But I think it's really interesting to see because they both applaud each other so heavily, and obviously getting to hear a lot from both of them and the synergies they built has shown up on the Rift. And we actually got to hear a little bit from Jan on his own progress. So let's hear what he had to say.
Well, the stakes would just be perform and get first again. Just nothing else is better than that. What it would take for me to be in LCS would just be better individually for myself, mostly. I'd like to be way better individually than what I keep myself accounted to.
Something not shown there is the confidence also that we got in a lot of the other bits that we heard from him, but it was the fact that he said, I'm going to be in LCS next year. You better watch out. So both him and Ayla have really high aspirations, but rightfully so. We've seen these guys grow so heavily, especially Jan in this short time. But I have to go back to the conversation at hand and look at how TBA attack this roster, Joshi, and get one last final point before we go into the draft.
Yeah, and definitely Jan is a player where I look at, and because we have such high expectations for him, it does become a little bit more nitpicky when we start talking about the things that we want to see him do better. The one thing I'm going to be looking at to see if he can really showcase next level play is he's kind of a little bit slow on actually canceling some of his animations when he actually comes to these team fights. He can definitely be moving more between a lot of his autos, and considering he's done everything else so much better over the past year, that's going to be the next step I want to see from him. Let's see if we can tighten up those auto attack weaving just a little bit.
We'll have to see how it all works out for these two teams as Champ Select is ready for the first game of this series. So guys, take it away.
That we shall. We'll see if Team Liquid can actually take away this series as expected when we get into the draft. Look at that. Rengar banned away from Kitsuo.
Not a huge surprise, right? Kitsuo has a lot of off-the-wall things that he likes to play. He's been playing things like the Kha'Zix, the Morgana, and the Karthus relatively recently. And already Team Liquid just say, yeah, let's get rid of that. We're not going to let him do anything super crazy. We don't want him to be upsetting a lot of different things. But let's remember a couple of things. One, Porsche coming through, relatively young player, was a big Gangplank player for a long time. Now that he's playing in the top lane, he's replacing Topo, again, previously Topopotamus,
You and I
who
have
had
been
playing
casting
for a long
Porsche
time.
for ages, too. Like, not even just competitively.
Yeah, as a Super League player.
Yeah, but
was he playing for Dallas?
I gotta remember.
I thought it was Dallas, but I don't remember.
It might have been
Chicago, too.
Was it Chicago or Dallas? I can't remember. That's how long ago it's been. It was like 2017, 2018 era that we both cast this player who would pretty much just spam Gangplank every single game.
And win every single time.
Every single game. And then finally teams figured out, ban his Gangplank, and then I think he had, what was his back? I'm trying to remember what his back was. And he just played that and win every single game on that.
Yeah. And it's not that different as now that he's playing in the amateur scene, right? Now he's going into Proving Grounds. The Gangplank is one of the most threatening things, and it's part of why I'm kind of expecting the Gangplank first pick to come out here for Bradley, because Bradley's very, very good at the champion. He was undefeated for almost the entirety, like since the beginning of Spring Proving Grounds through like almost all of Academy. I think he lost one game on it the entire time. And so now, as they're going up against Team Pending, I feel as though Team Liquid have a lot of strategies they can go for. I am expecting them to be able to get away with almost anything they could want.
And the thing about getting Gangplank early here is it does open up a bit of counterpick for Porsche. I feel like both these top laners know how to play with and without the Gangplank, playing against it so well. I mean, we've seen Bradley play against it with the Shyvana, where he had that impressive solo kill TP flank play all in one. So having Armeo grab Poppy, something that has been pretty much permanently banned throughout this entire day and this entire Proving Grounds, is a very powerful jungle to put in the control of Armeo.
Yeah, and now he's going to try and control Kitsuo with it as well. You have a lot of ability to stifle a lot of the very aggressive, very mobile champions that Kitsuo actually loves playing. And as we see, as we look again, Kitsuo, Robbie Bob, and this former support Chookies, and now their new top laner Porsche have been part of the University of St. Thomas squad that did win CLOL 2022, that were able to take Maryville to 5 games at another LAN almost immediately after. These guys have been playing together for quite a long time, and Kitsuo and Robbie Bob in particular are a pairing that has kind of become the new mid-jungle amateur duo that you see bounce from team to team, but consistently stayed together. It was Robbie Bob and Hyami for a long time, but now, you know, as Dat has come back in, they've been having a lot of success as a pair.
Yeah, they've been looking really strong with one another. We have Senna locked in for Masu in the bot lane. Something safe, something easy, but best way to make sure that if it's going to be Senna Tahm Kench in the bot lane is by grabbing Ezreal and Karma for yourself, and we've seen how good Yon is on Ezreal.
Okay, my eyebrows are shooting up, right? Because this is something that Robbie Bob has historically loved playing. It's also something that we've seen Kitsuo play, but instead going to be
Expected.
just teasing it a little while. I know, but it's something that we have a flex between the jungle and the mid lane. There aren't a lot of champions that can do that.
It's unusual. You're the one who's like, yes, give me it. I'm the one like, no, it's not going to happen.
I mean, we saw who played Zed recently in Academy.
Where's
He
my
got smashed.
I got my notebook somewhere around here.
Rafa was very sad that they weren't able to actually cast it, and I was like, yeah, it's okay. Oh, it was, is it Acadian? I don't remember. We'll look it up. Somebody will look it up for us and let us know who it actually was. But now as Team Pending, they go to the second half of the draft. This is a very strong core. They have a lot of range to play around, and they have the Tahm Kench to be very safe. So all the kinds of pick champions that Team Liquid could normally go for are kind of off the table because you can't actually take down anybody as long as the Tahm Kench is standing around them.
We tell here that TBA really are focusing on this top lane and how that will function for them, knowing that Porsche on this gangplank is susceptible to a couple of those counters that we've seen come up. And I'm surprised it's the Aatrox and not the Shyvana, but I'm expecting Shyvana here now.
The Shyvana, the Aatrox is a little bit less common of a counterpick into the gangplank these days, but it's also not something that Bradley necessarily plays a whole lot, right? He's got a large champion pool, but he loves playing with the Olaf. We've been seeing some of the Fiora. He's also been playing a lot of the Shyvana recently as well, looking for these opportunities to be really aggressive, and I'm a little bit surprised that none of them have been taken off the table, and it is the Gnar, which is, again, another champion that we haven't really seen Bradley play.
Yeah, a bit of an oopsie, I think, there from Team Pending. That, or they're just like, you know what? We don't want you to even play this meta style. We want to play chaotically. We want you to play pretty insane like we're going to play into this game, as Rise is going to be the final ban against Robbie Bob. Trundle, I'm not too surprised to see banned, something that does typically do pretty well into Poppy. But I will say, how funny would it be if it ends up being Bradley playing Poppy?
That could... It's not 0%, but it's not going to be that much higher. Is kind of the way that I always look at it, right? I mean, Bradley can play this into the gangplank, but it's really hard. You only have the one-range auto attack, and Kitsuo is instead going to be getting one of his most played champions so far throughout the Proving Ground Circuit qualifiers, the tournaments that they have to play in order to get here to play against the Academy squads at all. The Lee Sin comes through, giving them a lot of early game skirmish power, but is also really shut down very heavily by the Poppy. Kitsuo really needs to try and avoid interacting with Armeo.
See, now it is a 0% chance that it's going to be Poppy top lane, because you put that against Lee Sin every single day of the week. You're just like, yeah, you don't get to play the game. If I'm even nearby you, the ganks are going to be so difficult. And looking at how they've locked in Harry's LeBlanc, think back to last split, think back to last year. Harry's LeBlanc and how much that impacted the way that Team Liquid were able to play. Why they were this team that made it to the grand finals last summer. Why they were a team that were able to win spring just this year.
I mean, you're thinking back to last spring. I'm thinking back to last game when we saw that Young had 4 kills and still wasn't able to kill anybody because the Tahm Kench was on the other side. And Bradley going to be locking in the Graves up in the top lane. This champion has kind of fallen out of favor amongst a lot of top laners, but Bradley going to be looking to go for this big skirmish to come through. And it puts a lot of pressure on Armeo, actually, because now they don't have a ton of great champions where they can actually go for these phase checks. They have to rely a lot on their mobility, and Robbie Bob not looking to allow them to be mobile at all.
Yeah, that is a bit surprising if it ends up being Lissandra for Robbie Bob. More so because I look at how they're trying to play, and people always forget the clock can get interrupted by Poppy.
True. Well, the big thing that you got to actually look at through this play is suddenly you have a very clear target, right? We saw how much pressure AoE were actually putting onto Dignitas's mid lane. How many times did Sandy end up going down? Now you have Lisa and Lissandra. You have some near guaranteed crowd control before level 6, and then point and click after level 6 coming through for Robbie Bob. You have a very obvious target in the mid lane where you have the damage, you have the crowd control in order to take down the LeBlanc, and now Armeo needs to be aware of that. He can't allow Harry to fall too far behind, otherwise you're going to have to play this game 4v5.
That is very fair, and with LeBlanc behind, that is a hard situation to dig yourself out of, even for Harry, someone who is very well practiced on this champion. But that's why I even look at how these lane states will go, and I'm expecting that it's going to be a jungle and mid diff between the two teams. Those are going to be really the proactive points of the map for both teams.
Yeah. And so we were having a bit of a conversation earlier, Magical, right? You look at the mid jungle, but I'm looking at the new substitutes coming in with Porsche and Kim down. They haven't had a whole lot of time, and that's kind of why we were looking at Dignitas and saying, yeah, we don't know how well these guys are going to be playing with the new players coming in. I now have the same questions for Team Pending. I already thought this was going to be a bit of a blowout, and so I'm really hoping Kim Down and Porsche can step up and allow Kitsuo and Robbie Bob, the traditional carriers, to take over this game.
I'm excited for that as well. I feel like Porsche will slot in just perfectly, being a part of the UST team that had just one collegiate lull. But as we dive into the Rift on our first game for our #1 seed and our reigning champions of Team Liquid Academy, they face off against Team Pending, team that is made up of a lot of components of the winning collegiate team, and they've got to be down to party right out of the gates if they want any hope of starting a snowball.
They're already going towards the top lane. Bradley does have flash. I know he was toying with the Ignite previously, but not going to be finding him right away. So as they back off, not a whole lot of information is gained on either side. But just as you were calling out, we were looking a whole lot at the mid lane and the jungle being these big difference makers. And we have to remember that several of these players have had opportunities to play in Proving Grounds before, but Kitsuo and Robbie Bob, this is their first time.
It is.
This is the first time they're actually coming to Proving Grounds.
It's funny because they're names that are recognizable too. Like, especially for us, because we've been casting a lot of things within the amateur, collegiate, and academy circuit. So we've seen these names many a time, but we haven't seen them on the Proving Grounds. But it's funny just to kind of see that. Same with Kim Down, a player playing for UCI. I don't think he's been a part of Proving Grounds either.
I don't believe so. I would be surprised. I didn't have him in my notes because I thought we were having Chookies today, to be entirely honest.
Well, I don't blame you. That's who they were playing with before.
Yeah. But it's definitely a spot where it is a very young roster, right? We have been seeing a lot of these players come through. Masu, I believe, is only 17 years old at this point. So still trying to find his way into the game. He hasn't necessarily been playing with a lot of other teams. Team Pending is actually the first team that I have record of him playing with.
Me too. That's why it's... When we talked about it before, we wanted to hype him because he's this unknown factor, this new player, this kid that's come in from solo queue. That, if I recall even the story, I'm trying to remember the story. I think it was Robbie Bob talking about how they picked up Masu, where it's literally just trying out people through solo queue. And Masu just had these great hands that they're like, yeah, you know what? This is the guy. This is the guy we're running.
And so far, he's done quite a good job, and now he's going to go with a different supporting Kim Down than the one he's normally been playing with, and going up against Jan and Ayla. Definitely a bottom lane that has had a lot of success here in the academy scene. This is a tough test for them to go up against, right? As a whole team, it's a tough test, but in particular, Coach Spawn has been on record saying that Jan and Ayla are already the best bottom lane that we have in the academy, and they would even be the best bottom lane if they role swapped.
I wouldn't be surprised, honestly. I think Jan and Ayla are one of our best duos in bot lane in Academy, and there's a reason why we highlighted Jan before, looking against this new player in Masu. But Armeo, he is the king and the controller of jungle. He gets first blood. Whoa, Armeo, what was that?
Oh my god, the first blood solo kill coming out from John Armeo.
That is absolutely insane. But as we go to the bot lane, I know that's why you paused. Kim Down was nearly taken down going for that dive. But, okay. So yeah, Armeo, great at controlling the jungle. He's got Poppy, something that really does well in that aspect. But I did not expect a solo kill.
Yeah, and the way that it comes through, right? The instant flash into body slam or whatever it's called in order to lock him down, throws up the steadfast presence, and so suddenly, like, there's nothing that Kitsuo can do about that, right? That is just clean play coming through, and you see Kitsuo like panicked a tiny bit and instantly tried to go for the safeguard, but it's like when you are in these rough positions like that, that's kind of what happens. You need to be looking for players who are constantly thinking.
Pretty sure no matter what was going to happen, still was going to be death in bot lane. There's a lot of damage, and here's Kitsuo trying to make up for the play that happened to him on the top side.
Okay.
The kill on one, and taking down the bot lane. Oh, Ayla barely surviving. So still a good overall play for Team Pending.
That's a good 2v2 coming up from Kim Down and Masu, right? It's not a 2v2 we've been seeing from them, but Kitsuo able to find the last bit of extra damage. They ran Jan out of mana, and now he's going to miss about half a wave coming right on back. We were giving so much praise to this bottom lane, and already Masu and Kim Down find what's basically a 2v2, which is a little bit of extra Kitsuo on the backside.
Exactly. They had already gotten so much blown out of Jan and Ayla. The only thing that was remaining was that flash out of Ayla, allowing him to survive, but the fact they were able to gain control back. Masu getting the kill, even if it's passing Senna. You want kills on your Senna. You want that gold early as well.
Yeah, they do a good job. And so Jan and Ayla falling a little bit already is not what we were expecting to be coming out from this bottom lane. But Bradley also taking a lot of control up in the top lane, going up against Porsche, and it will create a lot of pressure, right? If you have multiple lanes of pressure, we had this long conversation about Bradley earlier on, right? Because he was the one member that we didn't feel was living up to the well-oiled machine that Team Liquid had become. But recently, we've been getting way more Chadley than Badley.
I was about to say, that was only at the beginning of the split. I feel like that conversation had happened, because then after that, he was the solo kill king in our league. He has been getting so many of these pop-off plays and so many of these different matches that vary. But like you talked about, he has a vast champion pool, and I'm wanting to see how he's able to translate that as now mid lane. A little bit of skirmish back and forth. Doesn't seem that Robbie Bob's too fussed.
But he's also down about 2.5 waves already in this game, but both junglers topside.
This is where it can get rough for Kitsuo. You have to be careful with Poppy. Knocked right behind. Hammer Strike will point out where Porsche is with the cannon barrage, but collateral damage kills him anyways. And now Armeo, he's found a second. He's like, hey, look who I found here. He's going to hop away with the ward. We're getting more control in the top half of the map.
I just love watching that Poppy just like fighting Lee Sin. He's like, yeah, what are you going to do about it? But now Ayla finds Kim.
Oh, yeah, they're going to be able to get the root on a Kim down. It's still top catch. Got thick skin. Hayri's right behind them. That's someone who can easily assassinate them early on to the game, but decides not to. Instead, going back to mid lane to gain more control over Robbie Bob.
Yeah, and now we're going to take another look at Armeo playing up here in the top lane. He's actually been showcasing some pretty darn good awareness and mechanics already coming out on the Poppy of all champions, right? But as we just wait and see Porsche come up, you see that Armeo is waiting for Porsche to get this far forward so that he can knock him right over towards Bradley. You have to knock him towards the grave so you actually have the damage to take him down, and the great ultimate coming through from Bradley, just getting the snipe. There's not a lot of play to come through from anything that Armeo is showing up to. He's making sure they don't have options.
Armeo controlling the jungle, the general on duty as usual. Pretty much every lane now in a good spot for Team Liquid outside of the spot lane, but they've been slowly gaining their own leads. They've got a CS lead. It's weird because you got to compare it to the Tom Kench, but they're still growing some sort of an advantage over Masu and Kim Down.
Yeah. It is still small, and now that Armeo is around, Masu and Kim Down need to be a little bit careful. I wonder how much pressure Armeo is going to try and exert here as they go in.
They got Kitsuo nearby. Going to be able to punch away. Kitsuo! Armeo, the general, leads the charge.
Oh god, such a good play coming out from Armeo, knocking Kitsuo away so that there's nobody that can help Kim Down. I love the play that we're seeing coming out from Armeo. It has not been that often that we've just been seeing insane Armeo differences coming out recently, but we've seen a couple of them in the past 2 weeks, and this is the Armeo that wants to get back to LCS.
Him and Anda, I think, are two of the best controlled junglers I've seen in Academy, let alone even the LCS, with how much control they look to get. People might say it's not that flashy, it's not that exciting, but looking at how he's playing this Poppy especially has actually been quite the treat. Poppy I don't think is as easy as people like to give credit for.
Yeah, he's been doing a fantastic job, but also a quick shout out to Team Pending using some of the plays that Team Liquid have gone for and turning them on its head, as Armeo not able to get there in time, and First Dragon does go over to Team Pending. But it's Herald time, and Herald time means that Jan's going to be bottom lane, and Team Liquid are going to rotate 4 members to actually pick up the Herald, and Team Pending, they're only going to be able to respond with 3 if they choose to respond at all.
Masu has reset. Kim Down is in the bot lane to answer the wave being pushed by Jan. And even Masu's heading down there, so yeah, it will be 3 only for TBA around this pit. Armeo, you gotta alert. It's the second time this has happened. You gotta make sure that you're not getting jump scared like that. Nice kick though from Kitsuo. Jumps over the wall, will survive, but that was definitely scary.
Good play coming in from Team Liquid, right? They're trying to control Kitsuo's jungle. He's already down to half, and Armeo and Harry coming back in.
No, not again. They're just going for the exact same play 3 times in a row as Kitsuo gets the heal from Masu, but Armeo uses Ayla to make sure they take down the jungle. They've got control. This top half of the map is all TLA.
all Team Liquid, taking so much control, just like you said, and now they're going to do the Herald. They killed the enemy jungler. They're not worried about the contest coming through from Team Pending. And Jan even comes up. He gets the wave crashing. He's like, okay, well, I don't have anything to do right now. Let me see if I can help out, make sure we get the Rift Herald, both of the bottom lanes for Jan and Ayla cheat towards the middle. And Harry,
you're feeling spicy right now. Missing the ethereal.
There we go.
Ephemeral.
No. Not quite the same.
Okay.
But, oh, they're going mid. They're going mid.
Gotta go mid, because that was the Mimic popped, but Harry escaping from danger yet again.
Yeah, we saw Robbie's ultimate get popped, but Harry was able to escape from that one. Now, one of the things I've always loved to praise about Harry, as Ayla should get out. Yeah, he's fine.
Oh my goodness, Ayla, the side
Let's go,
steps
Ayla.
there.
Oh,
I know you're. We're
I look at the picture.
all over the map. And look at where Porsche's playing. He's like, I'm not dying without taking some minions with me. Maybe I can get the execute too.
Please.
If you're not too fast. Do you wind it up? There's no keeper's verdict. Execute! Execute!
It's so sad that that's what we're cheering for at this point, coming in from Team Pending. It's actually crazy, but there's still an opportunity for a play on the bottom side if Kitsu wants to try and make it happen. I'm very happy with the fact that Team Pending are still trying to go for things. But Armeo, he's already back on the map. It's taking them too long to make this.
Oh, and they know Kitsu is here. They know Robbie Bob is here as well. The claw, the flash, and the dash that got Ayla, the kick to bring back in Yawn. There was a lot of damage. Like Tim down had absorbed for the team. With Armeo rushing.
Here's Harry.
Good look for the dive. Heroic Charge gets a lot of damage on top of these members with the Hammer Strike. And Harry, he's looking for the kills underneath the turret, but he's got to be so careful going up against Lissandra. I respect him falling back.
Great play coming through. They had such a narrow window to actually make that happen before Armeo showed up on the scene, and they went for it. They find the kill onto Ayla, who's trying to hide underneath the turret. Team Liquid, so confident they could outplay it, but at least they get something on the other side of the map. Is Jan, does he have enough mana to eat?
He might not. Night side stuff, though, doesn't even need to risk it.
In the mid lane, though, this is the crazy thing, watching Team Liquid games. They do this to Academy teams as well. Like, the kills will be pretty even a lot of the time, but Team Liquid will oftentimes be 2, 3, 4, 5,000 gold ahead, seemingly apropos of nothing, right? They just get so many plates. They got the entire top lane turret, they got almost the entire mid lane turret, and now they're going to start getting their recalls in so that they can have as much gold as possible in order to be here for the upcoming dragon.
And you know, there's got to be a lot said for how TBA has been playing this game. Sure, it has not been the most fortunate. It's been pretty much the general taking control of the battlefield for Team Liquid Honda Academy. But at least TBA, as you called out before, are still actively looking for plays. They're still trying to make sure, even down 4,000 gold at 13 minutes into the game, they're not just forfeiting it and letting the game end outright.
Yeah, I actually really like this control sweep coming through from Team Liquid, right? They're making sure that there are no wards behind them. There's nothing for Forge to teleport to that can really upset Team Liquid's ability to play with the battle lines. Just go for these straightforward fights. And as we take a look at the items that are actually coming through, Jan's already on the Trinity Force. Bradley has the Eclipse. Whereas for TBA, Masu and Kim Down are still waiting for Mythic to come through. Porsche only has components, and so Team Liquid have a pretty big advantage in terms of just raw gold on the field, and that's why Team Pending are not going to try and contest that there.
Again, still like the TBA are looking for proactive plays, forcing out Bradley from the top lane so they can get as many plates as possible before they fall, even if it's only one. It's some gold game, but now Kitsu spotted out, nice dodge. Gonna be chased down by Jan for the time being. Will Robbie Bob be able to save the life of his jungler? Should be able to. All his bot lane, who's in the top lane, were able to get that plate for themselves. Looks like Havery will answer for a couple in the bot.
Yeah, good stuff coming out from Team Liquid, right? They recognize, nobody on Team Pending seems to be contesting us around this dragon. Where could they be? Oh, it must be top lane. Let us go make sure nothing happens up there. They rotate 3 members. They leave Armeo to just pick up this dragon all on his own, and this is how Team Liquid prevent teams from coming back against them. They deny plays better than any other team that we've seen currently in the Academy scene. They grab the dragon. They're up 5,000 gold with only being up 2 kills.
But the thing is, they might only be up 2 kills, but they're up 5,000 gold.
Yeah.
14 and a half minutes into the game. They tie up the dragons. They have plays that pressuring already mid lane with how low that tier 1 is. Team Liquid Honda have a lot that they've set up for themselves, while TBA are definitely trying to see if they can stay proactive, look for these fights, and look for some sort of angle to get back into the game. That window is getting narrower and narrower.
They do have some good scaling elements, right? The Gangplank and the Senna do have great ability to play later on in the game, but I don't know if it's going to matter unless Jan goes too aggressive.
Oh,
nice dodge.
Nice dodge from Jan.
Keeps himself alive, but this is when Team Liquid are really coming into their own, right? In the mid game, when Ezreal completes his second item, when LeBlanc is on 2 items, Graves is on 2 items, it's very, very difficult for Team Pending to really try and fire back, and so that's why Team Liquid are lining up here. They take out this ward, and this is one of the things that I was looking for from Young rather consistently, right? He was always just going for these straight up fights instead of creating a situation where he's playing on the flank angles in order to get the damage down onto the right targets.
This is why we always praise Harry when he plays LeBlanc. His positioning is always immaculate, always able to find these windows to set up the team. And all of a sudden, mid lane falls, bot lane falls. Team Liquid Honda, even more firm control. If you could possibly somehow pass the level they already were in, they have somehow done that. Except for there. We ignore that. That didn't happen, and now he wants to get revenge. He's taking out his rage. No! Gitsuo shuts down Harry!
Oops. Good job coming out from Team Pending to
error,
instantly respawn from it. But yeah, that's an unforced error coming out from Harry. He maybe could have found it if he found the first W.
I'm sorry, Harry. I can't believe I've done this to you.
Can't believe we've done this. And now Bradley, a little bit overextended. Team Pending know that they can try and calm down because there's no response on the other side of the map.
Hey, these are the plays we're asking for TBA to look for. Look to see if they can get Bradley. Even if they sacrifice him down, that is shutdown gold they can pick up. Or they might just not even lose him at all. They might be able to chase him down and get shut down for Kim down.
There you go. I mean, Harry's play on the top side ends up resulting in a position where Bradley doesn't immediately recognize that, haha, I'm in danger. You do need to get out of that one. And so Team Liquid, a little sloppy right here in the mid game, is going to give them a lot of opportunity for Team Pending to try and fire back. But let's still be real, right? We were looking at our previous game where Dignitas was just out macroing AoE. While we are still seeing some good plays coming through from Team Pending, it's still hard for me to look at this and say, oh yeah, this is enough. They are now in a position where I feel comfortable saying they're going to win the next couple of fights, where they're comfortably going to get through the mid game.
Well, Josh, that's because you're a coward. I am brave enough to say
I'm a Howard.
Oh. Oh man, it's been Howard this whole time?
Yeah, it's my last name.
I thought it was Coward.
Well, learn something every day, but you know, Team Pending, they're trying to put on the show still, right? They are still trying to make these plays happen. They're going to try and showcase some cool plays that they can make, and to their credit, they've done that a couple times. The bottom lane, they won the 2v2. Gitsuo has found a couple of these kills. Oh, yes. Thank you, production. Together, that is, I think that's finally what we found out as our caster duo name.
What is it?
Howard and the Duck.
Oh, Howard and the Duck. Oh, man. Took me a second to realize that one. Okay, anyways. Okay, the game is still there. Still playing. 5,000 gold lead, essentially, for Team Liquid Honda.
Well, let's see the show.
Now, okay, no. I want you to set up how TBA could possibly win this.
They gotta clown it, to be straight up, like they got it. What?
Our observers
Victor
are
is disagreeing with something.
He's disagreeing probably with me. And I don't care.
Probably.
Because I still want to give TBA hope. Because I like their grit. Armeo, why you gotta do them like this, bro? Why you gotta do this to them? I was trying to build them up. I was trying to praise them, and then you punt 2 away, so Masu, the poor 17-year-old, is just dead.
It's illegal in several states. Unfortunately, we are still seeing that Team Liquid taking total control. They now prevent any potential contest coming through from Team Pending. And right as I was trying to set up an opportunity for them to make a play, they're the ones getting caught multiple times.
And then it's a rampage. Rampaging Poppy for Armeo. Charge down mid lane for
so strong.
Whatever you want to call this one. Shelly, Kelly, who cares? It still gets the turret, and it brings that gold from 5,000 back up to the 7,000 it was before those 2 oopsies from Team Liquid.
2 oopsies, and it... Yep,
yeah.
There it is. Can't do that. up against Armeo and Jan. They will fight you just because they're trying to make a show. And finally, Team Liquid are like, oh yeah, there's a dragon to take.
So this game might not break the record, but it's definitely been convincing for Team Liquid Honda thus far. We've been pretty much just seeing Armeo. He's got all the strategies, all the control necessary for his team. Like right here, taking that control, it's getting chased down by Harry. It's like, hey, free kill. And then afterwards goes back and resets mid.
Yeah, I mean, it's just been great watching Armeo run around to prevent any opportunities from plays, right? As long as he's there, it's so difficult for Team Pending to do anything. And unfortunately for Porsche, just a little bit too far forward there, not thinking that his opponents had the damage. But now you have 2 items coming out on everybody on Team Liquid. The only person who still needs to find their second item is Harry, and I think it's just because he hasn't finished his recall yet.
I have a feeling you are right. And let's
Speaking
see.
of,
Yeah,
there you go.
There it is. I had a feeling that you were correct on that one. It's been a while since we saw him recall. I mean, essentially his last recall was when he died. And now he's back onto the map. They've got an 7,500 gold lead. They've got only a couple of items on across the board for TBA. Well, you have 2 nearly for every single person on Team Liquid.
Yeah, and so as we kind of look forward to the rest of the game, one of the things that I'm still looking for is for Robbie to try and find his way in.
I don't think he's going to be able to, because Armeo is looking to chase people down, and Bobby is on the side. Robbie Bob, he's got himself by himself against Bradley.
Yeah. You know, he's done a pretty decent job farming thus far, but remember how we were talking at the beginning about how Harry was such the obvious target for Lisa and Lissandra?
Right.
Harry's only death has been him going too far, and they never really prevented Harry from taking over, right? Even in these rough lane matchups, he still finds himself 15, 20 CS ahead, taking total control, even in situations where it feels like he probably shouldn't. And now Team Liquid, they have him to play around.
The Claw looks for the root with the Evercross. They get no damage. Literally no damage onto Armeo. In fact, they are the ones who have to go into stasis because Armeo took nothing.
The Claw doesn't do much, and it does mean that another turret is going to be going down as Bradley continues wailing away at the bottom lane turret. Team Liquid, as they rotate between, they don't necessarily need to do a whole lot. It's not as though this team scales poorly, but they've already got such a large gold lead. I'm curious when they dive.
And it looks like right now, Armeo looks to dive underneath the turrets, but he has to fall back. Something actually can hurt him, being the turrets that take some of his health off. But Team Liquid, they're just playing this one cautiously. They are playing this one pretty much by the books.
Yeah, I also want to give a shout out there to Kim Down, right, for flashing, because he recognized as soon as the heroic charge started up from Poppy, if he didn't flash, he was going to get knocked into the base gate. He was going to get knocked into a spot where he was not going to be able to escape, even as this Tom Kench. And so, Team Liquid, they reset basically entirely as a team, and now they can start looking for pressure around the Baron. But there's also Dragon they can play for in 2 minutes, but it's still a little ways way out from the Ocean Dragon. And so I wonder how Team Liquid are going to try and end this game in the next 7 minutes. I feel like the obvious answer is if they get a Baron.
You think it's going to take 7 minutes?
Well, I mean, if they're trying to keep 2 games in an hour, under an hour, you know, you get 30 minutes each game.
Yeah, but you want to keep it under. That's even. That is exactly an hour. You want to keep it under, so it's got to be 29. So it's 6 minutes.
Wait, huh?
Because if it's under an hour, you want to keep it around 29, so that way you're not...
Oh, so they have a bit of a buffer. Okay,
yeah,
Ayla?
Yeah. And now, Ayla... But no, does not get knocked up. And look at Armeo doing so much damage in the backline. Who does he want to punch out? Doesn't get anyone.
No one.
Now TPs are coming in. 2v4 though. Somehow Ayla and Armeo survive and they thrive to fight back the flash away. Armeo,
he's alive.
They can't kill him. He's Poppy. He survives and he looks to re-engage. You do nothing to him. He is invincible. He is the general. They've got everything and you're chased back to your base as Bradley is unleashing hell upon the heads of TBA.
Triple kill coming through for Bradley. Armeo staying alive throughout that entire fight. Now Team Liquid move over. They can pick up the Baron, and Armeo probably can smite this one just for HP, just to keep himself alive as they all hop over the wall. Team Liquid are in total control. Kitsuo shouldn't be able to steal this one, but it's absolutely nuts how well Ayla and Armeo play this one, weaving in and out from the fight, and Armeo making sure he's never in range to get by too many players. And when he flashes over the wall here, they try and go for the execute, flashing away from the Sentinel ultimate, and the Yon heal makes sure that he never goes down.
honestly, it's absolutely insane that Armeo is able to survive here. The fact that he lives and then everyone else collapses from Team Liquid when it was a 2v4, you'd expect at least one of the members of Team Liquid Honda to die.
You think that?
At least
But this
one.
is John Armeo. You'll remember this as the day that you almost caught General John Armeo.
I like that one. I'm gonna steal
Yeah.
it.
There you go. It has a few too many syllables, but we can workshop it.
I don't know. I kind of like it.
We'll see what he thinks about it, right? We gave Harry the opportunity to choose his nickname. He ended up choosing Harry Poggers.
Oh, is that the one
Right.
he ended up settling with?
Yeah, because he's too young. He doesn't know who Dirty Harry is.
Oh, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
I forget how young these kids are. I always forget
Yeah.
how young these kids are. Production, I'm just gonna ignore it.
But there we go. Now Armeo starts winding up the hammer, and then he's like, "Oh, nothing to do here. I will
Hey!
wait." Oh, another turret goes down for Team Pending, but they're losing their inhibitor.
All right, looks like this is gonna be the death nail for TBA at the moment. They're already pushing in. They've got Bradley escorting some minions that are pumped up by the Baron. Robbie Bob does show up, but with Kitsuo and Porsche being chunked out so heavily, losing this turret in the mid lane, the inhibitor, that will fall down soon. This is all Team Liquid Honda. This is their time to shine. They are the reigning champions, and they look like they are primed to take back that spot. Primed to get themselves in the grand finals, and they take out a lot of that rage onto TBA in our first game of their series in the proving grounds. But they don't got to prove anything. They've proven it before. They're just here to show that they are still the best team from Academy that we've seen this entire year, maybe even in the entirety of Academy.
I'm gonna be honest, Alex. This was actually a closer game than I expected it to be. And I know that sounds wild, right? Because it was a 26-minute, it was extremely one-sided. But we got to see Masu and Kim down. They won a 2v2 against Yan and Ayla, right?
Yeah.
We saw some plays coming out from Kitsuo where he was trying to make these plays. He finds a kill here and there. They're able to get a couple ways back. And Harry, with an unforced error, ended up giving over a kill on the top side of the map. But we also saw a Dragon getting picked up by Team Pending. They got 2 turrets off the map. It's not as though they weren't able to do anything. This wasn't just a completely, a super fast stomp, but it was a very classic Team Liquid style game, right? They're very even in kills for the most part, and then they just are up because they've been so much better at controlling the gold, controlling the turrets than the other team has.
And that's usually what makes everyone fall eventually to Team Liquid Honda. They're always the team that controls everything. You're just there for their entertainment. And with that game, they showed that they are still just as dominant that we saw in the regular split. We're going to toss to a break. When we come back, we'll probably be ready. I think we'll be ready for Mizel's halftime show. I have no idea what he's got planned this time around. But you know what? Best way to find out is by getting there. So we'll see you after the break.
It's been fine. There's nothing wrong with it, nothing great about it. I think it was... Compared to last splits, we were very strict on seriousness and strictness, but we've been let loose a bit more because, one, we've wanted to play like that for a little bit, like environmental-wise and play-wise. Also, it's a bit easier when your coach is remote, but it's also been like a bit hard as well because he's remote, but it's been fine.